Live from the Embassy Suites.
Yeah.
Okay. Embassy Suites Hotel here in Detroit. With me, of course, Rob Morris. You all should recognize Rob. Alex Uli is here. We're going to be having a lot more people stop in as we get started here. I'm going to drag from off camera, although she may go back and retreat from me. I'm going to drag my sweetheart Susan in here. Susan, it's your first year and you are not quite on camera. Susan, it's your first year. You performed RSO duties, range safety officer duties today. What's your thoughts about what went on?
It's a great event. We did a lot of women today, and a lot of them were very good shots, and a lot of them were very happy with the event, and have said they'll be back next year. Several of them were like, "I'm going to go home and register again. Come back tomorrow too."
Yes.
So what does an RSO do at this event?
At this particular event, a little bit of everything. We help hand out targets. We help get people in the door and out the door. We hand out earmuffs if people need more than just the styrofoam plugs. We keep track of everybody who's on the line, make sure everybody's doing everything safely. A little bit of everything.
All right, Rob, it's your first year at this. Well, both of you guys, this is your first year at the event.
Right.
We're all newbies.
Yeah.
So, Rob, your impressions from day one today. Well, what did you think?
This event is designed for people who are new to shooting.
Yes.
It's like, hi, come for free, get your first taste. You would think we would see the same thing over and over. I had people who'd never shot before. They were shooting as well as I've ever seen anybody shoot. This girl walks up, does a ragged hole drill on me. Going, you haven't shot before? No.
I wish I could do that.
Yes, right. And then I've had people said, well, I have been shooting before and I have a gun, but I haven't used it. I feel like I don't know how to use it anymore. And they're struggling. There were people who were, okay, there were people who had raw ability in a variable. There are people who came in with all different levels of anxiety. I had a shooter who couldn't stand to be in the room. So technically she never got to be my shooter. She couldn't approach the firing line because every time someone would shoot, she kind of retreated and had to put her hands over her ears, and we tried getting her earmuffs. So what was amazing to me was the variability of people we saw. Most of them thought it was just a great event.
The one young lady I had, she was pregnant. Do not remember her name, but only could make it through 2 rounds because it startled her so badly. She was very recoil averse, and it just was too much for her. And she only, but the 2 rounds were
right there.
Right there, yeah.
I had a shooter like that. I went and got the 22. It helped a little. It's just sometimes you're struggling to find something that works for them.
Alex, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah. So this was a bit of as Rob said, it was designed for new shooters, but it was also a challenge for me and my instructor abilities too, because normally when we teach a class, we have hours to teach a new student how to shoot, and we had to do it in minutes with the students today. So it was a challenge for me to get the most useful information through to the students as quickly as possible, and in a way that they could walk away with something useful, not just some sort of false sense of competency, right? But something that was valuable, something that would improve their gun handling and marksmanship, and really set them on a path toward more responsible gun ownership and a lifestyle where they could defend themselves. So it was a challenge for me, but I think that I and probably a lot of the other instructors did a good job of, I think, doing that for most of the students. And like Rob said, there were some students who came with absolutely no experience and did incredibly well. They were just sort of the tabula rasa of students. And
great word, by the way,
the blank slate, right? And I had one student had never touched a firearm, and her very first shot, she not only hit the X circle, she hit the X exactly where the two lines cross. And it was just amazing. And she just got this huge smile on her face. And I think 6 out of her 10 shots were in the X circle, and she had never shot a firearm before. So that was a neat experience.
The firearms we have for them to shoot these are not off the rack Glocks and Smith and Wessons. They are from a local Michigan company that has, in all cases, modified the sights with very good sights. I do not know the brand of sights. Did you recognize? But all the guns have modified sights, and some other options have been added. And they're top of the line firearms. And that, I think, made it a little easier for some of the new people rather than dealing with the awful sights Glock ships with their handguns. But my comparison that last year to this year is I had a lot more new shooters. Last year I had 2 or 3 new shooters. Everybody else had been kind of around them a little bit. And I only had one lady today that she brought her own firearm in, but the firearm she brought, and Susan, I'm gonna give you a task. I can't see. I know we're getting comments. I cannot see them. Are there any comments there we need to get to? Well, sure you can. But anyway, I'm going to try and do this. I only have one hand because I have to hold a microphone with the other. She brought a really big, her husband had bought her a handgun, and he bought her
Classic story.
I don't remember. I never had it. All I know was it was a Ruger and semi-auto, and the thing was huge. My hands could barely wrap around the thing. And so we had her fire that for a few rounds, and she was all over the place. She had like 7 rounds out of that thing, all over the place. I said, why don't we try this little Glock 43 that we have right here in front of me? And as soon as she got a hold of that Glock, her groups just went, So let me see here. Charlie Cook says it's on. I can't get your comments on the screen like I can from home. Sorry, guys. I'm a little bit away from the computer. Charlie Cook says it's all in the instruction. That's nice. But yeah. And Tom Walls says, well done, Jess. Tom Walls did a new shooter introduction class. Okay. Tom Walls over at the Firearms Academy of Seattle is doing a new shooter instruction class this weekend. But what we're doing, guys, this is rapid fire training.
Yeah, I was just doing some math. Do we have about 15 students each?
Sounds about right.
I didn't count, but that seems about
That's
right.
Right. So
We have 4 classes.
It was fully semi-automatic firearms training.
So yeah, 4 times 3, 4 times 4.
There was 90 students per class, so that's 360.
There were 20 instructors at our facility.
At our facility. No, that's just at our facility. We have 4 classes and 90 students each.
Yeah.
That's 360 at our facility alone.
So that's 18 students roughly.
Yeah.
That it's hard to remember their names. I'm sorry. I tried. It didn't work.
Yeah. Well, and when they're telling you their name, it's in the middle of a active firing range.
Right.
And so, Tanisha, Taniqua, you're going to get somewhere close. And then more importantly, are you right or left-handed?
It was interesting to have people go, which is your dominant eye? And they go, let's find out. Good for them. We'll work it out. So that took a minute. Yeah.
I didn't have any left-handed shooters today.
I had 2 in a row.
Wow.
Well, now we know where they all went.
And that when you're in the range, this is not a huge facility. You've got a range that is just about wide enough for one big guy to stand in it. And now you're sticking one slightly smaller guy than he used to be. and one lady that could be any size, and you're trying to get them both to fit in that range. And oh, by the way, you have to be close enough that you can reach over and grab that firearm if something happens. It was a tight fit.
It was a dance.
Very
It was
much.
a dance.
Since we're supposed to be having more people stopping by. I do want to, guys, one thing that came to my attention a little bit earlier today, and both of you guys are politics guys, because I talk with you on the bullet all the time. I'm going to, hey,
Like, here's the real
Patrick.
politics guy, the elderman from Atlanta.
Just coming into camera and saying we're already live, Patrick. Sorry. Patrick Collins. As I'm sitting in the range, I'm trying to do a very quick from inside the range, broadcast. And thank God Patrick was there behind me waving his he had a big cardboard box, and part of the range had good air conditioning, part of the range didn't. So he's got this box and he's waving the box to try and create airflow. And I'm looking into the camera and I said, behind me, Patrick Stewart. And obviously Patrick Collins looks nothing like Patrick Stewart. Yeah, there is that. There is that.
I may have just may have just blinded half of your audience here.
Oh, come on. But Patrick was also doing RSO duty today. What's your overall view of how things went first day here in Detroit?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, I really enjoy this event. If you are an instructor out there, you must come to this event. It really helps out with a lot of the things that you learn as an instructor and that you really don't get a chance to truly experience. Teaching people for the first time ever is really a big deal. So I enjoy that. I enjoy watching them go from I'm scared, I have anxiety, to holy smoke, I want to do this again. How do I do this again? Can I, is there other free events can I go to? And it's like, well, it's not quite that easy, but yes, you can, we are enabling you guys and giving you the confidence to get it done.
Oh, let me borrow that. That's what this was for. This wasn't, oh, you're now an accomplished shooter. This wasn't even to get you to the point that you could go rent. It was a taste that you could go, I like this. I can do this. I'll benefit from this. I should climb in. Yeah.
I'm not terrified of them anymore. By the way, we have a comment for Patrick. It says, this is from Charlie Cook. It says, Patrick is bringing sexy back.
Yes, I am bringing sexy back for sure.
Okay, now you have to explain to people who didn't see the.
I would not have gotten that reference, except that Amanda Suffolk showed me the video on break today. So
Well, we'll have to make sure that's posted on somebody's page. We'll have to download it and post it on the police side page so everybody can see it.
Yes, please do. Please do. It was my cameo appearance.
So I do want to go back. I started introducing this earlier, guys, but and I should bring my phone back on to make sure I get. Dr. John Lott posted today on Twitter, and I've not had it through Crime Research Prevention and I have not had a chance to check this out yet, other than just read the story briefly. The Biden administration is now threatening to withhold funds from all schools that still have hunting or archery classes.
Yep.
That's going to put an absolute chilling effect. It's going to kill those classes.
What's it going to do for all those that are in ROTC? Sorry. What's it going to do for all those who are in the JROTC? What's it going to do to that program?
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't looked into this, but I saw the headline, and this reminds me of one of the bills that we talked about on the bullet about the advertising in California and the ban on the advertising that was targeted at youth shooting sports, and they're trying to cut off sort of the heritage of youth shooting sports, and that's where children learn to become responsible adults. Really, I mean, they learn that responsibility at a young age. We shouldn't keep kids from learning how to take personal responsibility. We should encourage it. We should help them build that responsibility at a young age so that when they're adults, they're responsible. And that's exactly what most adults, or many adults today, are lacking. So that's where we're headed with this.
Rob, what's your thoughts, man?
You're right. It is an attack on the culture. I get that entirely. What bothers me is that it's executed like so many things we've seen from the Biden administration. There's no legislation to justify that. In fact, it goes against legislation. He's going, I have arbitrary power. Come sue me. By the way, by the time that works its way through the courts, it'll be 3-4 years out. And what I want, I've speculated on this again. In fact, you would be better to answer this than I. At what point does the U.S. Supreme Court say they need to start appointing special masters to say this is an immediate violation? You know what? You're right. We understand you can't manage those funds. We'll do it for you. Here's what the law says. We've got it from here. Just as you and I've wondered, at what point do they say, New York, we understand that we had this Supreme Court ruling and and it said you need to be objective in the way you administer firearms licensing, and you in turn, in response, cut down the number of licenses you issue? We got this. Stand back.
I think you're certainly correct to point out that this is a huge violation of separation of powers. And thankfully, the Supreme Court seems to be in a good position to strike down these sorts of actions. Obviously, the most recent example of that is with the student loan forgiveness debacle, which was a clear overstep of the executive authority. That should have been, if Congress wants to enact some sort of legislation for giving student loans, Congress can do that, not the executive, not the president. And this is just another example of that.
So my question is what type of atrocities do they think they're going to avoid by eliminating archery and what was the other one? Hunter safety, which is actually a great program to have at that age level because most children are sponges when it comes to those things. Like, what exactly are they going to accomplish by removing this?
Let me phrase that Let me phrase that another way. What problem would this executive action solve?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go ahead. Say that again.
I can ask the question. I was going to give the mic to you to hear the answer. I don't know what it's going to do.
Yeah. So I mean that's always my questions. It's like they pass these laws or they suggest these changes to whatever currently exists, but what exactly is it going to accomplish? And in this case, I don't see anything it's going to accomplish.
I hope that it drives more students that would otherwise go to government schools to homeschooling or to charter schools or the like, because I mean that's what these families should do if they want their child to be engaged in these programs. Push for school choice, push for the funding of students to follow the child and not the school, and hopefully that can help solve that problem.
And that's probably a very good point, though. I think homeschooling is actually up because of the indoctrination of our educational system.
Okay, so the education going woke, but remember this is on a rebound also after COVID, where I'll raise them myself if you can't. I'll educate them myself if all they're going to do is sit in front of a long Zoom meeting day after day.
Yeah, 3/4 of the task of a school. I mean, when I was in school, we had lunch, we had breakfast, and we had different periods where we walked around to the different classrooms. But a lot of classrooms are still in this hybrid configuration where they're in the home, where the parents have to cook the food. You know what I mean? So it's already there. So you're right. Like, there's no change.
It's now the Biden administration is doing its best to make sure we cannot home build firearms anymore. How long before we're not qualified enough to teach our own children anymore? And they try to outlaw that.
Yeah. I mean, it's always funny when you hear it. And I grew up in a city, like the inner city, and to me, it's like, okay, you're going to take away ROTC, you're going to take away rifles, and you're going to take away all of these great things that expose folks that normally wouldn't have that type of dynamic or that type of background to it. I enjoyed doing half of that stuff when I was in school, but nowadays, I don't think you could, at least in my school.
Well, and think about the kind of language that they use when they talk about these sort of arbitrary mandates or executive actions. They talk about children like they're the nation's children. They're not the children of mothers and fathers and families. They're the nation's children, and we need to change that dynamic. They're not the government's children. They're the sons and daughters of real human beings, of individuals, and need to restore that mindset of the family and a cohesive local community, and to fight back against the federal government.
We have to have been getting comment. And by the way, when I was off camera, I was adjusting things. We sit so far away, we can't see comments coming in. Susan.
We have had several comments. MC says the Supreme Court doesn't need to control the executive. We, the people, do. MK says driver's education is next. Maybe a transgender teaching gun safety would be allowed.
Yeah.
And somebody on Facebook says our youth is our future, and to take away the opportunity needed to give them the understanding of what it means to be responsible with a firearm, hunting, or sports is their design of controlling our youth, which in turn will control everything. Carol Sanders says the federal government didn't do nearly enough to protect us, in my opinion.
All right. I'm how do I put this? I don't want the federal government's protection, with the possible exception of invading other countries invading us. I think the Army's a good deal. Other than that, I don't want the government's protection for anything. They generally do more harm than good.
Yeah, and to the point about the Supreme Court not wanting to rely on the Supreme Court to protect us from the executive, I think that's a good point. Unfortunately, we don't have great options except for the election next year with respect to nullifying executive action. So hopefully we can make some changes in that regard. So I don't know, Rob, do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm going to steal something. I think I got this from Bill Whittle. He said a robust and inquisitive news media was the immune system for a nation. We were supposed to say, I know you're not feeling this yet, but look over here. Something bad might be happening. Please give it your attention so that you can ask questions, because there might be some that questions that don't occur to us. And you, the body politic, know things we don't. That's a wonderful theory. We don't see that in practice these days. So these are dangerous times until we get a million more shows like this that'll ask tough questions.
All right, we just had Amanda Suffolk of Eye on the Target Radio popped in. We started a little bit ago. Amanda, you didn't get a chance to get in on this. You are, along with we are the only two people in here right now that have been to more than one of these.
Oh, okay. Well, man, you guys are all
We're all
novices.
newbies. Yeah.
You were here last year, were you not? Yeah.
I was the first traveling instructor.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's been.
My apologies. When I first started the broadcast, it was us three, and I was the only one.
Okay.
At any rate, Amanda, we just completed day one a few hours ago. What's your thought on how things went today?
Well, I was at both ranges,
Okay.
and I think that, as always, they are amazing tacticians in trying to figure out how to move the troops, how to get them in, how to get them trained, how to get them on the safety training, and then get them to the instructors, all of that kind of stuff. So that whole block and tackling thing, they've pretty much got that down. And so they're just making sure that the gals register so that they can fill up each of the modules as they go. So the great news is that We didn't have any safety issues. We didn't have anybody where somebody's come out and said, man, did you see or hear or whatever, you know? So safety is paramount importance, and it shows. And then I was on the outside where the some of the vendor tables were, because we have Faster Saves Lives and DC Project both there talking. And these folks would come out with their targets, and they were so proud of them, and they're standing in front of the signs for both of the ranges, taking their pictures and showing their friends, and that those smiles are the reason that we all do this. Is that the smiles are why you come back? Is that not the truth?
Exactly. I mean, just to see them be like, wow, I can do this, and I did have fun, and I want to do it again. You know, I'm sure both of the ranges that we were at sold a lot of firearms right then and there, because it was like, hey, you know what? I was a little scared at first, but now I want one. Now I have one.
I don't know what Michigan's. I do not believe Michigan has a waiting period. I'm not certain about that, but I would agree with you. I think more than one firearm got sold today.
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I certainly hope the ladies got to choose their own firearms rather than Amanda, you didn't. I had a.
We are pro-choice. We'll just say.
I had a lady come in with her own firearm that her husband bought her, and it was this huge Ruger that I could barely get my hand around. And yeah, we got to let her try the Glock 43. Fit much better. So I'm hoping at least that lady got the.
That was a fun choice, because okay, we had this CERT pistol that okay, Glock 17 size, a Glock 19, one of the shields. So she, you know, it's, oh, mama bear, baby bear. Oh, look at this. One of these things seems to fit better than the others. So that was so much fun that they could then shoot whatever they liked.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I was going to say too, to build on Amanda and Patrick's point, was that about half of the students that came to my lane today were brand new. They had never handled a firearm at all. And what I think was so great about the experience, the training experience today, was that we got to give those shooters a positive first experience. So many of the students that we have, and I'm interested to know your all's experience, so many of the people that we have come to our classes in Southern Indiana come with bad experiences, or having had bad experiences, and come with anxiety and training scars. So I thought that was an amazing thing about today too, is that we got to send people away from the range with a very positive first experience.
Well, I think part of this first experience is that you don't go places that you've never been before. I mean, if I'm going to some place, and I consider myself fairly brave, but if I'm going to some place that I've never been before, in my head, I'm trying to visualize, okay, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to see? What is it going to be expected? What are they going to ask? How is it? How, you know, all of this kind of stuff. And so by having this in a controlled atmosphere, in a whole controlled thing, they get to come with their friends, and they get to do the walk, and they get the whole, I've been in the range, I've handled a gun, I know how to rent one, I know what those people look like, I know how they are behind the counter, I know how nice they are to me. And so the next time I walk in, I know what to expect, and it's a very positive experience. And I think that's a big thing. And the other thing about that, in that positivity, is I tell a lot of dudes that it's sort of like riding motorcycles and shooting guns. Young men they get a giggle out of watching their girlfriend like bobble a gun a little bit, because boom, it made a lot of noise, and there's all that, sort of like putting them on the back of a motorcycle and scaring the bejesus out of them, because then they hug tighter to you, and you're like, oh, look how funny that was. And it's like, dude, you're going to marry her, and then she's never going to get on a motorcycle again because you scared her. So the same thing with a gun. Make those experiences positive, and then the two of you get to do this for the rest of your lives. You get to go enjoy the sport. You get to go out doing it, so that you're riding motorcycles as a couple. You're shooting guns as a couple. you're scuba diving as a couple. So it's an experience that you then both get to do.
And this is and that brought to mind my one thing I despise that is very popular on the internet is they'll get a very young, usually very well-built lady that's almost dressed, and they'll give her a Smith & Wesson 500 Magnum. This today was the absolute antithesis of that. Last year, there were ladies that were dressed for attention, and some of them came through my lane. I didn't see a single lady like that today. Everybody was almost dressed for a range. I seen some Crocs was, I got a thing about Crocs.
Hot brass.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. That's
Not the environment for sandals. I want to amplify what you said. One gal said, I think I would like to try a 380. We didn't have any. How about a 22? Okay, let's go get a cert pistol and make sure you're doing the fundamentals so that is that the gun? Is that me? Is that a flinch? What? We would move it down to a level where someone was going to succeed and we could work the basics. And they go, oh, yeah, I get that. That's what it should feel like. And then they could work their way back up.
Yeah, it's definitely a very pleasant learning experience for all the women that come out here, and even for some of the instructors. There are a lot of instructors that just teach the basic pistol safety, but when you're teaching folks that are either not exposed to firearms for a very long time or even are afraid of it, but they're there because their friends are there, and they're like, "Hey, look what I did," and just the pressure among themselves kind of creates a competitive atmosphere where they will come off and be like, hey, guess what? I did it too. And just the excitement there is enough for them.
that brings to mind a story that I heard on the range from a gal. She had gone through the safety talk, went into the range, fired the shot, a singular shot, and then said, I can't do this. I'm done. And she came out. When she came out, she was talking to an instructor outside saying, it was too loud, it was too much, it was too whatever. And that instructor talked her through her concerns and then went back in with her into another bay, and she shot 9 more shots.
Wow. Yeah. Well, okay.
Use the mic.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on here. So you're in a larger class. You would never. I've never been in a class where an instructor could spend 15 minutes with me and work out my issues. Okay, that's short for a 1 hour, one-on-one. But in a group class, I never got that much attention, and all of these women got it that came through today.
Yep. Yeah. Any problem was addressed right then and there. You're right. It whittles down to a one-on-one with a professional, qualified instructor to teach them how to shoot and coach them through the process.
Well, let's talk about instructors for a minute. Where did they all come from? Because I started to ask questions and see from the instructors, because I'm on the outside. So I'm like, so where are you from? Where are you from? So where did you guys see instructors that came from? I saw a guy from Florida, a guy from Philadelphia,
Right.
Dr. John Adine from Texas. So where else did?
Let's see. Georgia. I'm in Georgia. Yeah. There was, quite a few of the surrounding states as well, but
Yeah, I'm from southern Indiana.
Indiana.
Yeah. Louisiana.
Extremely southern Indiana, all the way down in Louisiana. Yeah.
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 Extremely western.
Yep.
Indiana, South Dakota.
Right there, you go.
Yeah. So, there's a huge diversity of all the instructors that are here. When I first came here, I was a lone soldier. You may have a couple folks from the surrounding Toledo area or, maybe an hour or two away, but I stayed at a hotel by myself. I ate by myself. I didn't know anybody. And now it's like a family. They look forward to seeing me because they've seen me for the past 5 or 6 years now.
Seeing you stand in the bed of the truck and sing.
I'm bringing sexy back.
Tell the listeners the story.
Well, so over the past few years, I've kind of said, how can we improve this? And one of the improvements that we made this year is we wanted to amplify the speaker in the safety portion of the classroom. And so I brought a PA system for both of the ranges to use. And I was giving it off to one of the attendees, one of the instructors that was heading over to the other range. And I just happened to have a conversation with her through the PA system at midnight. And it was dubbed over a little bit.
Yeah, it looked like he was singing karaoke. So a friend, then, and our friends, the things that we do to our friends, we'll just say, dubbed it over. So instead of him talking business, it looked like he was standing in the bed of a truck singing karaoke or singing that he's bringing sexy back. And pretty much everybody has enjoyed. It's been watched a lot.
I might have to make that my new signature for my business. I'm bringing sexy back. Yeah, no, great times though. I mean, you know, for those folks that are not here and you are an instructor, you're really truly missing out on a great opportunity. I enjoy to me, it's like a family reunion with everybody here and just seeing everybody just be happy. That's what it's all about. Success is, you have different ways of measuring success, and here you just see all the ladies happy. So, yeah.
So, not only was there, I guess, diversity in terms of where the instructors came from geographically, but there was a mixture of sort of background training wise too, right? I mean, some are NRA instructors, some are USCCA, some are both, and some, you know, have furthered their instruction and training with, you know, Masad Ayub or Tom Givens or John Farnham, et cetera. And so it's neat for that reason too, because you get to sort of talk to other instructors and learn from them too, and sort of overlap and learn from each other in that regard too.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point because, you know, there are some folks that are military trained and some folks that are law enforcement, either prior or current. And you do have a lot of different aspects of how to train. But there, it's like, I'm your coach for 10 minutes. Let's get this done. Let's put some holes in paper. Let's give you the experience that we want you to have and have it a positive one. And yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, it's nice to see everybody getting things done. Yeah.
A thought. This is in Detroit. This is not training women in Mayberry. It may be more important to them than average. I hope the thought of having to live in fear because of violence in your community made me come. I don't want to give up on Detroit. I don't care about its politics. People have the right to live safely, not in fear. Maybe we helped a little bit. 1,500 women in a weekend. It's got to count for something, I hope.
Yeah.
We had conversations outside about that because we were talking about the DC project and what are they, and we were talking about education versus legislation, you know, criminal reform as opposed to more gun laws to disarm all of us when the bad guy is bigger, stronger, faster, and we're just trying to level the playing field. So that was a really good piece of it because they got it. I mean, they're standing there, they're living this, and they got it. A funny thing that I noticed in this is that, and maybe it's just rural Ohio versus Detroit, but the eyelashes that some of these women had on, they had to actually strip their eyelashes off because they rubbed on their safety glasses. And so you ended up with this handful of eyelash caterpillar, right? And it was like, okay, this is just a little different. Did anybody get the eyelashes stripped? Lori had here, hold this.
I didn't have that experience. So did you, Rob? No.
Last year, yes, but this year, not yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a different lifestyle, different culture and whatnot. But you know, the folks that do have the longer nails and the eyelashes and all the beautiful things that they do to their extremities, which doesn't really help in the shooting world for sure, especially behind safety glasses or even behind a trigger guard. But you know what? At the end of the day, I mean, we pumped through a lot of ladies today.
But that's how they have to train because that is how they dress. So train the way you live. I mean,
Yes.
Holly Sullivan out of Connecticut goes to the range and shoots in high heels because 90% of the time she is wearing a dress and wearing heels. And she's like, I have to nail down balance the way that I dress because I don't have time to tell the bad guy, I got to kick off my shoes before you can do whatever you're going to do. Right. No. So you train the way you live. And I respect that. I respect the heck out of it. Sometimes it's just a little cute at the same time is my point.
For those of you who are tuning in, you just saw the Rhonda Azell come in, sit down. Rhonda, thank you for coming by tonight. We're all talking a little bit about what happened on day one of the women's shooting event here in Detroit this weekend. If I could, what were your impressions of what happened today?
Well, my impressions of what happened today at Rick Ector's Women's Shoot, it was wonderful. Once again, we had a lot of ladies that came out, a lot of women that had never touched a firearm before, had never shot a firearm before. They got a orientation from Tanisha. They got with some of the best of the trainers we have in this industry, and they came out with smiles on their faces. And that let me know that just like last year, the previous year before, everything was successful. And I can say that being a part of this adventure along with Rick, because Rick drags you in and it's superstar come here, and so it's like when we see that we are doing what it takes to bring in people into this two-way circle, it's more than us, me, you, and whoever. It's about coming together as a community and making sure that we're able to distribute this firearm safety training and education to everyone. So I think it was great. And I think it was an overall success, just like the previous years. And I think the ladies enjoyed themselves along the way.
We had some. It looked like we were going to have some challenges in the morning. There was definitely rain when we were driving towards the range. Everything cleared up though. The weather turned beautiful, and I think the weather actually ended up working for us.
Yes, it was actually quite nice outside at the range that we were at during the daytime. For those that got to get outside for a quick minute, yeah, nice and perfect.
Oh, we had a few storms, and
There's a guy named Steve who wants to know how he can get involved. He can come help. So maybe you might want to let them know that.
Well, what you need to do, the roster is pretty much filled for this year, Steve. Get in touch with Rick Ector. He is all over social media everywhere, including is this a YouTube person or a Facebook person or?
I'm assuming YouTube.
Okay.
I see the name on this, but then it doesn't say Facebook, so I'm assuming YouTube.
Okay, so Rick's there too. Find Rick Ector and connect with him, and we will get you. There's that you pay your own dime when you come here. None of us were paid to come share.
it's passion. It's about the passion.
It's absolutely. All you need to do is, and even if you get a hold of me personally after the broadcast is over, I will let you know. I'll get you in touch with the right people. We'll get you connected so you can come and join next year. And by the way, if you are an instructor, we still need instructors, guys, don't we? There were holes that could be filled.
You never could have too many instructors because you want to rotate them out. You don't want anyone to overexert themselves or do too much. It's hot. You just want to make sure you have an adequate amount and backup. So you never can have too much education in one place. Always can use more instructors.
Patrick, you got to experience this yourself firsthand today. the air exchanger in the bay we were in the half of the range we were in wasn't working to start the day. Air got a little bit thick over there.
Certainly did, Paul. But hopefully my fanning techniques kept that side at least 1 degree cooler. It was a good 20-degree difference between the a nice AC bay and a very warm bay.
And Susan's in the back going, yes, I got to work in the AC.
Yeah, I lucked out. I got on the cold side, so it was good.
Let's talk about that. We had, I think some people, this was a very emotional moment. They had, is it anxiety? Is it excitement? I can't judge from the outside, but a very emotional moment. Add some heat onto that, and I think we had somebody who felt faint. And in hindsight, we go, if we knew who that was going to be, we would have put them on the cold side of the range and not over in the easy bake oven side.
But they had something like that happen in both ranges. And so the thing is that with extreme caution, they called the squad. The squad came, checked them out. Everything was fine. And that was that. But it happened at both ranges today. I mean, I think some of it has to do with the 85-degree weather and the, 90% humidity. But I'm just judging right there. That's all.
Yeah, that was quite interesting to deal with it too. And you're trying not to alert anybody at the same time when you have to divert from the plan that's there. But I mean, luckily everybody there was very professional. The right people were called, and the situation was handled. So yeah, very quickly, very easily. And in fact, on our range, that person wound up walking out the door with no further issue at all.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was taken out. I think it was just a little anxiety from wanting to shoot and not having never shot before. Because I don't know if this was the woman, but she came out with her target and she was like, "Oh, I was a little antsy and I didn't want to shoot. I shot one time and I said I was done." And then the instructor stated, "Oh, come on back a little bit." And she had, I promise you, it was about a quarter size hole in her target. And she thought she didn't do a great job. I said, "You did a wonderful job. You did an excellent job." And she was sweating. So, but she did great. But no one was taken out by the fire department. So everything was A-okay.
Okay. What does it take to duplicate this in Chicago, in Atlanta?
I've got the word that
In Indianapolis?
it's going to be copied, mirrored, mimicked in Chicago. Well, in
Well, it's
use the mic.
it's actually going to be copied downstate Illinois. That's going to be the goal. We have Mandy here. She's on the board of the ISRA, and she's
Illinois State Rifle and
absolutely.
Rifles. Yeah.
She's going to try to put things together. She's going to actually put something together next year. And so we're going to see what comes of it. And so, of course, it's going to be the first time. She's going to do a great job. We're going to make sure that we support her and make sure that she has a successful first and beyond.
Yeah. So people are starting to take note in a manner to say, I think I can do this, and I want to give it a try. And so if it can happen in Detroit, and then it can happen, close to Chicago, not in Chicago, but hey, to me from Ohio, all of Illinois is Chicago. So
Well, the only reason it can't happen in Chicago at the moment is, of course, because no one has taken advantages of the 2 federal wins of the Ezell versus City of Chicago gun range case. So no one has actually built the range. And so they would still have to go outside of the city to partake, even if it was given by Chicago Guns Matter or any other organization that wanted to bring it to the city. So that's particularly that portion of it, but it will happen in Illinois.
Okay, so Jose isn't here right now, so Philadelphia we could add into the mix. So the inspiration definitely goes both ways.
Absolutely.
then we have a dude from Jacksonville as one of our trainers. So again, another big city. He said that it was Jacksonville actually encompassed more land in a major city than any other major city in the U.S.
Or you
didn't know
mentioned, yeah, you mentioned Philadelphia. That would be an easy one. We have March to Ray from Philadelphia. So Black Guns Matter and March to Ray. So of course, I think that could happen. So we'll see. Absolutely. The goal is to push forward.
Yeah, I honestly think that all of us would love to see this replicated across this country. And I mean, it takes a lot to do it. I mean, I've known most of you for quite a while now, if you really think about it. And here we are reconvening here. Maybe we'll be in Chicago next year, or maybe we'll be wherever else next month. But at the end of the day, we need to help each other so we can help this whole movement grow. And that's what it takes.
My issue is this: if we have one in Detroit that I go to every year, and I do, we have one in Philadelphia, we have one in Chicago. I only get so much time off of work, guys.
I keep hearing you
Follow-
guys mention Chicago.
Follow Rob and I. Retire.
So someone here has some money. You guys keep saying Chicago, Chicago. Who's building that gun range? I'd like to know now. What do you think? I'm with you though.
All right, well, guys, Susan, do you how long have we been live?
51 minutes and 3 seconds.
51 minutes. Yeah, let's go ahead and think about wrapping this up. I'm going to start being you were the last in. I'm going to let you be the first out, Rhonda. Any thoughts from today or anything else you want to share, and of course anything you want to plug on our way out?
Well, I just wanted to thank all the people that came out and supported Rick Ecker once again. And the goal is to move forward, trying to replicate it all across the country. Because what we have to do is make sure that we keep our foot on the necks of the politicians that are stepping on our fundamental constitutional right to keep and bear on. And that's all across the nation. There seems to be disrespecting Bruin that has solidified Heller as well as McDonald and Ezell. So I'm saying that the goal is to train and educate as many people as we possibly can, bring them into this 2A circle, this 2A family, this 2A community, and make sure that we say no, that we're not going to comply with our government.
All right. This also brings to mind that the one thing we are accomplishing with this is we are, at least in the ladies that come through our lanes, in most cases, we're successfully saying, look, guns aren't evil no matter what they're telling you. This can be safely done, and it can be a whole lot of fun. At least in 1,500 to 2,000 women this weekend, we're going to be changing minds that way. Rob, anything you want to plug, and any thoughts on our way out, man?
No, Rhonda, thank you for that. Yeah. I don't know how we're going to find more time, but yeah, we could go. I would gladly go to a number of places to help this for what you're doing. This is missionary work. I'll carry targets.
Just to sort of echo Rhonda's comments here, I think we need to bring people into the fray, and by that I mean not only to the 2A fray, but the sort of self-ownership and personal responsibility fray, and that this is something, like you said, Paul, that not only can be done safely, but that is incredibly empowering. And I think that that's a compelling message to spread, and I think that's a powerful one to bring people into the fold of personal responsibility and self-ownership. And that includes responsible gun ownership. So I think it's an incredible event, and if we can do something to spread it, I'll struggle like Paul to make it to every one of them. But I'm not near retirement age quite yet. So
He's the baby of the group.
Yeah, no, most definitely though. I think what's key to help this is the fact that we have instructors that want to get out and that want to do this. And this is the grassroots. This is truly the grassroots, because there's nothing less than a first-time shooter. There's nothing less than that. All right. So we are exposing them in a positive manner to shooting, and we got to do this and continue to do this. And I try to make everything I can, but as you guys said, it's tough. It really is tough. This is the work, though.
Well, I think the things I want to say is, one, to everybody who's out there listening, Rick Ector really, as Patrick said, is the grassroots coordinator of this. I mean, it started a dozen years ago because he'd seen a news story where someone died because they didn't have a gun and they didn't have the ability to protect themselves. And he's like, not on my watch. And he has done a bang up stellar job of making a difference to multiple families as he does this. And when you think about it, he is not impacting 2,000 women this weekend. He is impacting 2,000 families, because where mama goes, so goes the family. And in a lot of cases, you see a pro-gun guy marries an anti-gun gal, and you find out that there are no guns in the house. But if the gal is pro-gun, it generally is a pro-gun house. So you raise a pro-gun family. And so that it really is touching the heart of the family in doing that. I want to do a little plug for the fact that Rick, as this grassroots expert, is on his first year of his NRA board run, and he was the 76th director picked. So he's a 1-year director. And so he will be running again for NRA board of directors. So he's going to need support. He's going to need you to talk to your friends. He's going to need votes. Pay attention to that and help him be able to be a 3-year director, so that Director Ector can continue to make a difference, and then to work with the NRA to teach the NRA how to help spread this message. Because if there's somebody who's got a grassroots baseline that could pick this up and take it in a different way, so it doesn't have to grow quite so organically, this is the perfect opportunity for us to help him do that, to help all of us, if that makes sense.
We know someone who said, I want to do a concealed carry fashion show. So she turned it not into an industry or a franchise, but she wrote the manual. Amanda Suffolk did that. If you have those organizational skills, Amanda can't do this for this event, but there are lots of ways you could contribute.
Right. And
Right.
there is that. So helping him do that. But that's your point is very well made, is when somebody has an idea and they run with it, they are making a difference in the community. And this is one of those, and and those little things start to add up, and they start to stack up, and they start to really impact and make a difference. And speaking of those little things, one of the things that we got an opportunity to do this weekend was to talk to instructors. And the reason I was keeping track of where they were all from is I was talking to them about something that's near and dear to my heart and yours, Rob, which is Faster Saves Lives, which is arming teachers and school administrators. I mean, it's not really even arming them. It's school safety, and it's a school safety program that's a pro-gun one, but there's options with it. So Faster Saves Lives. But I mentioned that you had gone to several of those events, that you had trained for people to talk to you, to talk to Candy, to talk to me. And I had a dozen instructors take flyers, look for information. And to me, that's a win, because that's the next grassroots thing that's going to start to grow around the country. And what's more precious to us than our children?
Well, right now there is a Faster Ohio, there's a Faster Colorado, and there's a Faster Arizona. That's 3 out of 50. I would love to see 50 out of 50. So, yeah, if you're an instructor out there, and do me a favor, look up Faster Saves Lives. It's fastersaveslives.org, right?
ORG.
Go ahead and look that up, and let's get it in more than just the 3 states. Let's get a lot more states involved in arming teachers and protecting the children they're charged with something more than just harsh words. Guys, I think it feels like we're right up on the hour. I think we're going to go ahead and shut this down. I want to thank everybody who's watched, podcast listeners, when it gets to you, because it won't for a few days. I got to do that from home. When it gets to you, thanks for listening. Everybody, thanks, and we will see you next time. Eventually, I'll get up there to shut